for another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. I am Gino Bacola alongside Angela Herman joining us this week with producer Lucia pulling the strings behind the scenes. Angela, it's a great time to be a fan of horse racing because every week it seems like there's one track that has a big day where there's Kentucky Derby points available, Kentucky Oaks points available. This weekend it's going to be Fairgrounds that take center stage.
That's right, and you're gonna see some horses that are starting to catch up to some of their more precocious, to counterparts in their class, I guess. I love this time of year because you can catch we'll talk about it, some horses that have just proven their maidens but have a lot of potential with it. Sometimes this is the time of year where you can catch them at a price because the tides are changing when it comes to the three-year-olds, just like all of us, they grow up at different rates, but you see a lot of the horses that might have classic potential really come to hand right about now.
Couple of the races, we'll be talking about some of the newly turned 3-year-olds horses that we most recently saw when they were running at 2. Now, a lot of them will be making their first start at 3. Before we dive into our preview of the Lecomte, though, we want to let you know that Daily Racing Form is more than just horse racing. We now have a sports betting section. If you go to the front page and you see up on the right-hand side of the screen, there's a big football icon, and you can click Bet on Sports. It'll take you right to the sports betting section with news. And the real important part, you can claim up to $5,000 in sportsbook offers, give you all sorts of different advantages that you can take where you're signing up for new accounts. So make sure to check that out, the Bet on Sports section of Daily Racing Form. Well, let's see if we can make you some money in the Lecomte. We're going to preview 3 races from the fairgrounds in our show this weekend, and we're going to start with the big one, race number 13 with Kentucky Derby points up for grabs. Angela, the $250,000 the purse, and we start things out with Quality Mischief, who comes off a 4th place finish in one of the same prep races where a couple of these horses come out of. Chip Honcho won the race, and we also have Crown the Buckeye, who finished 3rd there. Quality Mischief ran 4th that day, so he's going to have to turn the tables on a couple of the rivals who finished in front of him, but he wasn't beaten by all that much. They only beat him by a length that day.
And I think the handicapping with this race just starts on your opinion of the gun runner as a race because it is viewed as a prep, but how you saw the finish of it really, somebody should have came and got them, and I thought maybe it was going to be Quality Mischief. He's stuck in the thick of things throughout, but really not much of the finish of any of the top 4 in there left me thinking that they were going to just come in here and be a short priced favorite and dominate. So I think that Quality Mischief is going to hold a lot of the same characteristics as some of the runners from there. I'm interested, but more underneath.
Completely agree with you. I don't know how strong that race really was. We move to Carson Street. He's a half to a multiple graded stakes winner named Canoodling, who was very good, could win from 5 furlongs all the way to a mile and a 16th, turf and dirt. Carson Street finally put it all together with a big 11-length victory on a sloppy track at Fairgrounds. What do you think now as he steps up and faces tougher?
I definitely like him in this spot, and I think that it's just using him as a yardstick too, because we'll talk more about the horse that I really like in this spot. But if you like one, you have to like the other a little bit, considering the progression that he's taken through his races. He hasn't done much wrong. The
No.
only thing that I could really pick apart with him is that he improved maybe so much with Lasix and a sloppy track. Was it one of those factors, or was he just going on that upward trajectory? I think he's going to be a good enough price, especially probably compared to my top pick in here. I think he'll be very usable, and Carson Street has some speed to keep himself out of trouble too.
He's also shown us he can sit off a little bit and pass horses if need be. I don't think he's like a one-dimensional need the lead type horse, where right next door, Crown the Buckeye, he came from off the pace at Mahoning a few starts back, but I think he really wants the lead. I think his best chances are if he's forwardly placed. Might be a little tough in a bigger field. He's one of those horses coming out of the gun runner.
And one of the horses where no matter what happens, this is a big reach and a lot of accomplishment for an Ohio bred. You just don't see a
Absolutely.
lot of them come along this early, do this well, and hold their own the way that he did. He did all the tough running on the front end, but he did not have a lot of pop down the stretch. And that's a worry in a similar looking field. It's a big group. How do you get comfortable and how do you finish better than you did there when you kind of had some things in your corner? So if he's going to be anywhere near 4-1, and I think he'll be higher than that, I just am not interested if that's the tactics that they continue to use.
Exosum was a winner on a sloppy track over at Keeneland. The race was initially carted for the turf, taken off the grass. It was a pretty impressive win, though. Source was about 4 lengths off early on. There was a clumped up group, was kind of waiting and then angled around that group 4 wide. What'd you think of this effort?
Well, you always thought that it had them in his sights, right?
Yep.
He did fall far behind on the inside, but was still making good headway, and it looked like he just needed a way through. Now, nobody finished off particularly well in that race. I mean, even though he was on his left lead and he was coming home okay, he still everybody looked tired, and the fact that we haven't seen him since just makes me think that maybe he'll need this one, but the future is definitely bright, and he's already shown some, adaptability, so there are some things to like at a price too. I would definitely prefer him to some of the shorter priced horses, maybe with some speed and some more racing to them.
Cherie DeVoe trains two in here. I think they're both very live, Angela. The first one is Golden
Mhm.
Tempo. The main concern with him is that he won at 6 furlongs, and now he's going to have to stretch out to a mile and a 16th in his second start. But Cherie DeVoe is very good moving from sprint to route, and this horse's dam was a grade 3 winner going a mile and an eighth. So when you really look at it, distance shouldn't be an issue for him. I think he's got some ability.
Oh, yeah, and a pedigree to go with it. I mean, I'm sure there's some expectations with him, just with the family that he comes from, the way that he fired first out. But if both he and another DeVoe entrant are in here, that one has two-turn experience
It's
on
the
him,
key.
and I think he's gonna probably be a shorter price. I would guess maybe a little bit. I would just say that even though the ability might be there for both of them, the progression might still lie ahead of him. I think that he might just be a little bit of an underlay, that's all. Jose Ortiz chooses him, I would assume. I don't think it was an easy decision, but you sign with the best team long term. You stick with it, wins or losses when you see the potential there, and I'm sure that it is with this horse.
Couple live runners all in a row. Thunder Buck broke his maiden on December the 20th at Fairgrounds while he wasn't in the Gun Runner, which was on that same day. I think he might have been more impressive than the horses that were in that Gun Runner stakes race that day, Angela. But he did finish behind Chip Honcho in the debut, so he will have to improve on that rival.
But still, if he did take that big step forward and they got emboldened like, "Hey, we just ran just as well as those guys did," and he had hung with them previously in the maiden ranks. I think that he very much deserves a shot in here. I know he's cross-entered, but I think that they're gonna go in this spot, and I think that he deserves it, and I think that this is the kind of spot where you would wanna take a shot with a horse like him.
Another major player is Mesquite. The debut, sprinting, just didn't really get involved all that much after a slow start. This horse wants to go long. And when he went longer in his second start, it was really, really impressive. He came from last in a field of 9, double-digit lengths out of it. So visually, he was about as impressive as anyone in this field.
Well, and visually, he was a goofball too. He he wanted to lay all over horses when he got to the lead. He wasn't easy to manage around the first turn, but he has shown enough, I guess, in the morning where he was ready to go and the gun runner got a little sick, still was ready to go and maybe just a little further along than a very talented stablemate of his. But I think that Cherie DeVoe has a couple of really promising 3-year-olds, and I think he might be the better price with just a little bit more to him as far as the morning ritual goes. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try Mesquite in here and see if he maybe can't linger around 5 or 6 to 1.
White Tiger showed some speed last time out. After stumbling at the start, he still was able to get to the lead. I think he's a pace factor at least in here.
I would think so. And White Tiger, I think, will run all day. It's just whether or not he can do it right now. He can do it off rest. And if he can take it away from Churchill. Sometimes horses really like Churchill. I say especially their turf, but he just has some questions to answer. And with the connections that bring him over, the price might not be right for that kind of horse.
Chelly is actually cross-entered. He's one of the horses that will not be running in the Lecomte on Saturday, so you don't have to worry about him. We can move to Stop the Car. I mean, he's another coming off a nice win last time out. That was over at Churchill Downs. He's 2 for 2 so far, shown us he can win sprinting and going long. What do you do with this guy?
Some upside with him. It hasn't come back as the most live race that he exits. I just think that this is why not? Maybe sort of move. Where else are they going to go? A horse clears their conditions, then you're left with what spot do you take? Do you try for maybe the low road? I think that they're taking a shot that he deserves because they found that maybe this field isn't very experienced, where he has some professionalism to him. That will definitely work in his favor, especially to get down towards the inside.
We round things out with Chip Honcho. I mean, he's parked way out wide. I respect what he's done so far. We just haven't really seen him progress, though, in his 3 starts, and I wonder if there are a couple others with more upside. So as we move to selections, give us a thought on Chip Honcho, and then we'll get our top picks.
The Chip Honcho would need just about everything to go his way. He can do it, but he would really need some things to fall apart, maybe for some closers not to fire. Price won't be right, so I'm going to take a pass.
That's the key for me, too. I think he's just going to be shorter than what I'd want. We both go with the Cherie DeVoe runner. Angela's going to go with Mesquite, 7-2-5-6 for her. For me, 5-6-7-11. Don't go anywhere. When we return, we'll head back in time and go to race 12 to Louisiana. So for our first race, we were talking about the 3-year-old boys. They're trying to earn Kentucky Derby points. For our final race in the segment, we'll be talking about the 3-year-old gals, the fillies, that are trying to earn Kentucky Oaks points. This race, we're talking about some of the older horses. They want to see where they stack up in that older horse division. Angela, let's meet the field for the Grade 3 Louisiana. This is going to go as race number 12 on Saturday at the fairgrounds. So if you're someone who plays like pick fours and pick fives, this is an important race in the middle of those sequences. We start things out with the number 1, Moonlight, who is a deep closer. I think you kind of know what you're going to get from him. He wants to sit back. He's going to make one late run. If the race sets up for him, he can come running. And he's a newly turned 5-year-old, so he still seems like he has a little bit of upside here. I don't know overall how good he really is, but I think this is a good spot for him to kind of get a feel for where he stacks up, because it's not a group of any monsters. I think the horse to the outside is very logical and is the horse who deserves some respect. So I went back and forth with him, but the more I looked at this race, the more I started to warm up to Moonlight. What do you think about the one in here?
Indeed, yeah. If you do start your handicapping from the top down, you might get a solid impression from him at first, but then as you go through the field, he looked better and better and
Great point.
better. I mean, yeah, he's won 2 out of his last 3. He did flirt with this company 2 back, but if they're going to try it again, why not try it on a track that you know he already really likes and that he has those what starts behind him now? He's going to have that advantage on a lot of these. He's going to be able to save ground. He's going to have pace in front of him. I really thought it was a really shrewd move by Chris Block the more that I moved through it. And I do like him. I just think that he's really got his work cut out for him, maybe with 1 or 2 horses in here, but it's a very good fit for him, and I like him in this spot.
He's a little dependent on pace with his running
Yeah.
style, but if things go really well up front, where with horses like Accelerize, Tarantino, we could see Just a Touch, and Willie D's all being forward, there are versions of this race where they go pretty quick up front, and that sets up pretty well for a horse like Moonlight. We move to Henro. He wins the Iowa Derby and the Harrods Creek back in 2024, and that was kind of his peak where he was in his tip-top form right then. He earned 95 and 97 by your speed figures. He just hasn't really been able to get back to that. He's been sprinting on the turf in his last few. I just didn't know what to do with him here.
It just seems like they're giving him every last shot to prove that he might not be something that they've really tried to make him into in the past. I mean, you see turf sprints recently, you see some turf routes. I think they're just maybe a little lost as to where he's at this point. So trying him in here isn't harmful. It's just something that I think maybe they didn't expect a couple of the runners to show up in here who did. So they're up against it. But if you're looking for a bomb and you're looking for a horse that can throw in a speedy effort at any time, maybe he's a fit for you, but he hasn't shown much speed lately. And I just think that he's a horse that I have a tough time liking.
Cadet Corp is in pretty sharp form right now. That's 8 straight top 3 finishes, including a grade 3 placing in the Monmouth Cup. But the counter to that, in that same race, he's well behind Just a Touch, who is in here in one of the top contenders. So he's going to have to improve quite a bit on that particular rival. I want to see him at this level a couple more times. I think he'll be forwardly placed with Paco aboard. What do you think about Cadet Corp?
They've chosen some very good spots for him. I mean, he doesn't rack up that kind of record by accident, but I still think this is asking a lot for him. He has tried this before, and maybe they just don't want to lose him more than they find this a perfect fit for him because he can go up to the Mid-Atlantic and have a great summer. And if he's still in good shape, maybe you just want to keep him going in that direction until you can get him back in his sweet spot.
We move to Accelerize. This horse has some ability, Angela. What scares me, though, is that, like, on paper, he's the type of horse I think a lot of people might bet because he's lightly raced. If you're just looking at connections, it's Todd Pletcher, it's Flavian Pratt. This horse has won 2 of 3 starts. The only time he didn't win was coming off of a layoff. So, I mean, he checks a lot of boxes on paper. He's still going to have to improve, though, and he's very lightly raced when compared to the rest of the field. So I respect him, and I think he's got some ability. I just want to wait and see what his price might be.
Yes, I couldn't take a couple of the favorites in here. I already really like one of them. So if I was going to try to throw Accelerize in there, and I think he is going to be maybe in the 7-2 range,
Yeah.
boy, I'd really have to see something on track that would sway me. I think when you get a horse like this who gets towards the lead and shows natural speed and draws away like that, you don't know necessarily if there's much more to it. I remember a long time ago, a horse named Officer was just acclaimed as the next coming, and he could do it all on his own, and he won by 20. But when he got asked to do more, there was no more. Sometimes a horse can just lay it all out there, knows his job, and that's what you got. And I think that might be what they have with him. If he improves, no surprise, but if he does, he'll be a short price.
Yeah, I need to see him overcome something too. You're kind of hitting on that, right? Like things have gone really smoothly for him in his wins. He hasn't had to be behind horses, getting kickback, anything like that. Let's see how good he is now when he steps up and faces better. We move to Sir Graylin, who's coming off of a big performance when running second in the Tenacious. He's a horse who wants to sit back though and make one late run. Where do you think he stacks up with this group?
I think Sir Grillen fits. I just don't like him necessarily in the win column. Sir Grillen didn't have to battle too much in any of those optional claimers. He picks up pieces. I think he'll be able to save ground. Every horse has some excuses along the way, but he's turned in similar results with a lot of different excuses. So underneath sort, very usable sort, maybe a little bit underlaid in the win column, but Sir Greyland is a horse that won't tuck you off.
Multiple graded stakes place Tarantino had a really nice stretch of races from like August of 2024 to March of 2025. He stepped up and faced some pretty tough horses recently, like Fierceness, Nisos, Journalism, Skippy Longstalking, First Mission. Those horses just are a little classier than him.
Yeah. He's a cool horse, though, and he would be a cool horse to own. You don't want to bet him to win, but imagine owning this horse and going in all those graded stakes. You pick up pieces along the way. You can take him anywhere. You can have
He
some
shows
fun
good
with him.
speed, right? He's in the race a lot of the time, gives you a good run for your money, but
Exactly.
seems like he's in a bit tough here. That's
Yeah.
Tarantino. We move to Willie D's. I think he's going to be forward. If you put a line through that Lucas Classic, he's run 6 of 7 races for Maker that are very, very good. What do you think about him here?
I'm a little against him in this spot, frankly. He ran pretty big that day, but he also turned into a bit of a standout with the winner. I thought it was a 2-horse race and he didn't win it. So, with a big effort there, he would need a bigger one here, I think, to beat Just a Touch, and I don't see that coming.
Yeah, and as we move to Just a Touch, I agree with you. I'm a little cold on Willie D's. Just a Touch is multiple grade 1 place, just not many poor performances from this guy. 8 for 9 in the money, and it was only the Kentucky Derby where he didn't finish top 3. Found the foes too tough in the Met Mile. It's a little disappointing as the heavy favorite last time out, but it's a great spot for him. And if you look at Brad Cox, he's 48% at Fairgrounds over the last 23 starters. So let's move to selections. Angela, were you able to get around Just a Touch? He's going to be the horse to beat in here. It's a great spot. We'll go to your selections. Angela, that's how she's going to stack him up. For me, that's how I'm going to stack him up. But don't go anywhere. The Silver Bullet Day is coming next. Final segment, we're going to go back in time a little bit to earlier on the Saturday card at the Fairgrounds. Race number 10 is the Silver Bullet Day, and this is a race for 3-year-old fillies. It's an important race, Angela, because these fillies are trying to earn points along the way to the Kentucky Oaks. So we see a lot of this where you have different racetracks. They have these different series of races where you'll see a lot of the same horses show back up 2 or 3 different times trying to earn their points and get qualified for the big races, the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby. So don't have the biggest field in here, but a couple talented fillies. And one of them kicks things off right away in this Silver Bullet Day with Atrapa, who is grade 2 placed. She was in the Goldenrod and she ran behind a very nice filly in there named Bella Ballerina. She came running late and she was a bit green. And this is something that you pointed out in an earlier segment. When we talk about horses that might be a little green or a little goofy, if they're young, that's actually a positive because they might even have more, upside when they can put it all together, when they're able to run more efficiently. So I like it when horses are able to run well and still are a little green early in their career. It's just, you don't want to see that later in their career after they've run 5, 6, 10 times.
Yeah, you don't want to see that become a habit, but a lot of young horses will go through some of the same issues in their first few races. It's just a matter of her and her stablemate not having a ton of speed. And of course, they could develop that at any time, break a little bit better. It's just that she's had a few starts, and I can see a similar race for her setting up in here. And without much pace to chase and being bottled up on the inside, maybe timing could just be everything. All the
Yep.
talent in the world, lots of future with this filly. It's just a matter of being in the right spot at the right time. She's going to be a short price, but she is the one to beat.
And in a small field, if they're not going that fast and she's a little farther behind, it might not be easy for her at a short price. We move to Dancing in Old Town, who comes off of a runner-up effort last time out. I mean, both of her efforts are fine. She's still a maiden, though. She hasn't put it all together yet. So if you're just comparing her to the rest of the field, she's got the lowest speed figure and she will have to improve a little bit on them. She's the type of horse who will probably be doing her best running late in the race.
Like the inside filly, and that's the concern with both of them. But it looks like she's been training well. Barnes been having a good meet, and they figure with a filly like this that can close late, maybe they would find some sprinters that would back up. That would be the case in a lot of these Derby and Oak preps, but not necessarily the case in the Silver Bullet days. So I think this filly will find herself in a similar position as the one, and maybe not with the kick or the foundation yet at this point that that one has.
I've been known to blow a little smoke in my day, Angela. White Smoke is the next one coming up, who's 9-2 on the morning line. White Smoke was a very impressive debut winner. That was going 6 furlongs at the fairgrounds for Cherie DeVoe, but she's going to have to stretch out. Now, I go back and forth because I like to see horses have a little progression, but this barn is awesome when going from sprint to route.
Have you been known to start as slow as White Smoke did in her debut? I hope not, but White Smoke still was the goods in the stretch, and she would be the one that I would expect to show more pace of the DeVoe runners. She just has to start a little quicker than she did last time, and getting more ground will give her time to correct that. But you still see the potential with two of these. It's still just start number two, and I went with a more seasoned horse. However, I see White Smoke and the potential for the future, and I don't blame people for betting on that.
One of the more accomplished horses in here is the Grade 3 winner Taken by the Wind, who won the Pocahontas. And in that race, the 4th place finisher has come back, Dazzling Dame, to win her next 2 races, including the Busanda, by 11 lengths with a huge speed figure. What do you think about Taken by the Wind in here?
Taken by the Wind, I don't think needs this race, maybe necessarily as much of a competition, because Kenny McPeak already knows that he has a stakes type filly that likes Churchill Downs. Now, whether she'll take to the distance, maybe that's what they're trying to figure out, but it's still just her third career start. An odd stat with him: third career start off a win in a stake. He's 3 for 44. Don't know how that works out with them being so good first two. I'm going to give her this one and see if it just doesn't point her in the right direction instead of get her right back on track.
Love Your Neighbor is stakes placed. She finished second in the Untappable. It was a very unlucky second. She's traveling well. She's about to move up the inside. And then right at the top of the lane, she loses the irons. And she's actually in a stretch battle when the jock didn't have the irons for most of the stretch. I thought it was very admirable that she still was in that race. And she looks like a major player in here. I like that she can sit closer than some of these other fillies can.
I don't know about you, but I would love to see her on the lead. If a filly
Yeah,
who's having trouble winning some stretch duels
great point.
has some seasoning to her and has some speed, I would love to see her go and just make them come catch her. Because I guess maybe the outside filly doesn't have designs on being on the lead. So if nobody wants to take it, she has a lot in her corner, and I really hope that they get aggressive with her in here.
And that outside filly, Pajmina, did show some speed last time, but she finished third behind Love Your Neighbor. I agree with you, Angela. As someone who likes Love Your Neighbor in here, I would prefer to see the 5 show some early speed. Let's move to our selections as we round out the show for this week. Angela, how are you going to stack them up here?
I don't know how we possibly agree in here, but I'm going to see if Love Your Neighbor and the experience and seasoning that she has maybe can't overcome some of the talent to her inside. So I took it 5, 1, 3, and 4.
We were the exact same way in this one. Whoever you play, however you play them, we wish you the best of luck.